Tonight, Speedweek previews the Bud 500. Darrell Waltrip has visited Victory Lane at Bristol 7 times. Alan Kulwicki has won the last 2 here. He seeks his 3rd straight victory tonight. Davey Allison won the closest finish in history here in 90, then crashed earlier this year. He's 2nd in Winston Cup points. It's this man he's trying to catch. Bill Elliott, a winner in 88. Speedweek is live from Bristol, Tennessee. From Bristol International Raceway in Northeast Tennessee, where in 1 hour the Bud 500 NASCAR Winston Cup race will be held. Welcome to this live edition of Speedweek. I'm Bob Jenkins, and a great night of racing coming up for you in about 1 hour. And we're going to preview that race in the next half hour and bring you up to date on everything else that's going on in the world of motorsports. And we must also tell you we're very proud of the fact that earlier tonight it was announced that ESPN and Bristol International Raceway have signed an agreement that will carry us into the 21st century. We're going to be coming back here for many, many more races on this exciting high-banked half-mile racetrack. Now, the drivers have been coming here for some 30 years, but tonight they face an entirely new and different type of racetrack. In the past couple of months, the track has been resurfaced in concrete. Now, in the past, the asphalt surface broke up under the pressure of the Winston Cup cars and the tremendous speeds that they turn. Now, they thought maybe that the speeds would be slower this year because of the concrete, but that is not true, as the pole was won yesterday by Ernie Irvan at an event record 120.535 miles an hour. Starting second will be Ricky Rudd, then Brett Bodine, Mark Martin, and Alan Kulwicki. The second 5 in qualifying, Ken Schrader, Davey Allison, Rusty Wallace, Darrell Waltrip, and Dick Trickle will start in 10th position. Now let's go down to one of the 2 pit reporters that will be working with us in the race and on Speedweek. Here's Dr. Jerry Punch.
Thank you very much, Bob. We're standing by with tonight's pole sitter for the Budweiser 500, Ernie Irvan. And Ernie, everyone talked about the new concrete, yet you set a new event record in qualifying.
Well, I tell you, the racetrack has a lot of adhesion, and it's real fast, but it's going to be real tough because it's real rough, and it beats us up inside the car, but we've done everything we could inside our car to make it comfortable for me.
Now, how about this race tonight? 500 laps. It's always a physical place to come anyway, but how about tonight? Will it be that physical on the racetrack between the cars?
I think it's going to be worse. I don't, think there's going to be a lot of physical stuff between the cars, but it's going to be physical on the drivers, and it's going to be tough to make it the whole race. And watching Busch guys last night, and they all got out saying how tired they were. So we're just going to try to lead a lot of the race, try to pace ourselves, and be there at the end to try to race whoever we have to win it.
What about pit strategy? Can you afford to come in and pit, or is track position going to be that important to you?
Well, track position is going to be important, but we don't know what the tires are going to do. It doesn't act like they're going to wear very bad. Goodyear, they just had to shoot in the blind to find out what tire to bring here. They did an excellent job, and it's first time on the radials, and it seems to be good. So, we're just going to have to play it by ear.
That's Ernie Irvan. He'll lead the charge tonight at 7:30 p.m. Now standing by, one of Ernie's primary contenders or competitors tonight, fellow who's dominated the last 2 races here, Alan Kulwicki.
Thank you, Jerry. Alan Kulwicki's definitely been the dominator here at Bristol the past 2 years, winning both races. Alan, you definitely had the setup before, but with this new concrete, that kind of throws a new wrench into the plans.
It's quite a bit different. The track surface is different, and the tires are different. This is the first time we've ever run radials at Bristol also. So, the setup that was best here before isn't necessarily what's best now, but I think we're still running real well with the Hooters Thunderbird. I think we've adapted pretty good, and I think we'll be strong in the race. I'm looking forward to it.
What about the physical demands? A lot of vibrations out there with this new concrete.
Yeah, it's going to be a very physical race. It always is at Bristol, but, maybe even a little bit more so this time. I think this might be the most demanding race that we've ever run. One thing, the temperature's not really too hot tonight. That should help a little bit, but definitely going to be a workout.
You're still in the points race, despite the 14th place finish at Michigan, coming up on a series of tracks that you do really well at, the short tracks.
Well, Bristol's been good to us, and, Richmond, Martinsville, Wilkesboro. We've won at Phoenix and Rockingham, so I think the remainder of the year should be pretty good for us, and, I think would definitely be one of the contenders for that championship.
Thank you, Alan. Bob, last year for the Bud 500, when Alan won, he started from the 5th position. Guess what? That's where he starts tonight.
And so Alan hoping that history will repeat itself. Benny Parsons has joined me, and the first race on this new concrete was last night, the Food City 250 Busch Grand National race. A lot of attrition, but a good event.
What an exciting event. Had everything, crashes, domination, and a great finish. And Kenny Wallace started on the pole. First race with his new crew chief, Jeff Hammond, who replaced Steve Bird.
Kenny led only 4 laps before out.
Gordon took the lead as Wallace lost several positions and would never be a factor. Joe Nemechek bounced off the first turn wall. He continued, but it was a serious setback to the series point leader. Wallace was involved in the first caution when he and Stanton Barrett spun in turn 2 after Hut Strickland oiled the track. Before one lap could be completed under green, Harry Gant spun and made contact with the inside wall on the front stretch. Just past the halfway point, Gordon crashed hard in turn 2. Also involved were Rick Wilson and Tracy Leslie. There were no injuries. The race's most serious crash occurred as Morgan Shepherd battled for the lead. As Morgan slid to the outside wall, he collected Bobby Labonte. Shepherd's car caught fire, but quickly burned out. From another angle, you can see that Morgan lost control after hitting Spencer. The impact with the wall was very hard, causing the momentary blaze. Shepherd was treated at the infield care center and released. In the late stages of the race, again there was contact between the first two cars, Todd Bodine and Jeff Burton. Todd survived unscathed and went on to win. It was his second victory in the last 3 Busch Grand National races. On the cool-down lap, Burton let Bodine know he didn't like what happened, but NASCAR took no action.
And the reason NASCAR took no action, no real evidence that there was intentional contact.
Oh, there's certainly no intentional contact. I think there was maybe slight contact. They looked at it and said, look, if he hit him, he certainly didn't mean to.
Bad crash with Morgan Shepherd. Is he running tonight?
He is going to run tonight. He's banged up his foot, banged up his arm, but he is going to run tonight.
And good news as far as his Winston Cup deal for next year is concerned.
Hey, that's right. He signed through 1993 with the Wood Brothers, who signed for the next 3 years with Citgo yesterday.
But there are a couple of other oil companies that may drop out of Winston Cup next year.
Sunoco announced yesterday they're going to withdraw in 1993, and I think it's a foregone conclusion that the Phillips 66 people are gone.
As far as other news is concerned, Donnie Allison is helping Bobby Hamilton tonight. Now, there are a lot of other rumors that are running around here, as per usual during the silly season, but nothing else confirmed as we get set for the 20th race of the 1992 NASCAR Winston Cup season.
Speedweek is brought to you by Quaker State. The Big Q is one tough motor oil.
Coming up, the current USAC midget points leader survives a horrifying crash at Springfield.
You know, I've messed up on a few relationships in my life, but there's one that's lasted over 35 years with a lot of help from Quaker State. It's tough on wear, tough on sludge. So Quaker State and I are planning on a meaningful relationship with my new car. So why don't you do the same with your new car's engine, and Quaker State will guarantee it for 250,000 miles or 10 years in writing. You think if I gave Lonnie the Quaker State deal, she'd give me the same guarantee? Quaker State is one tough motor oil.
At Ford, when we test technology, we go by the book. This book. It takes us places that make our Ford trucks even tougher and make our performance for the street even better. Because the more we race, the more we learn. And no one races in more places than Ford. We test our ideas all over the world to make driving better for you at home. Have you driven a Ford lately?
All of these championship-winning drivers have one thing in common: Goodyear tires. The championship-winning technology that's found in the Eagle and Wrangler tires that Goodyear races can also be found in the Eagle and Wrangler tires that Goodyear sells. The champions know, and it's why we say the best tires in the world have Goodyear written all over them.
The word is out. It's Gum Out. Today, car owners are learning to improve engine performance. It takes Gum Out fuel system cleaners. Gum Out's tough ingredients help eliminate hard starts, hesitations, and stalls. And there's Pennzoil quality in every product, which is why so many people know they can trust Gum Out. To improve engine performance, it takes Gum Out fuel system cleaners. Gum Out, solutions to engine problems from the people at Pennzoil.
Welcome back to Bristol International Raceway for a live edition of Speedweek, now about 40 minutes before the start of the Bud 500. Well, last week here on Speedweek, we talked with Mac McLaren, who survived one of the most terrifying crashes of the summer of '92 during Saturday Night Thunder at Indianapolis Raceway Park. Now, we have a crash that rivaled his that occurred last weekend. It was during a USAC National Midget race at the Illinois State Fairgrounds in Springfield. Gary Lee has a report.
The 25-lap Rex Easton Memorial on the mile dirt track was part of a doubleheader at Springfield. Stan Fox was on the pole with a new track record of over 111 miles per hour. At the start, it was Johnny Parsons Jr. driving a Jimmy White chassis with a Rich Vogler engine who took the early lead. And lap after lap, Fox, in his Beast Gertie, tried to get by Parsons by going both inside and outside. But then, on lap 17, Fox was able to make the move stick and go on to become the first ever three-time winner of this event. The race was marred by a horrifying crash. A yellow flag had bunched the field on lap 18. The green had just come out, and the cars were racing down the backstretch when Dan Drinan tried to go inside Jim Mahoney in turn 3. The car that took the wildest ride was USAC midget points leader Dan Drinan. That's Kenneth Nichols going to the aid of Dan, and Jim Mahoney slowly getting out of the black car. Also involved was Mark Gerke, who will also require medical attention. After Drinan, he was not breathing, and his pupils were dilated. We'll show this to you twice in slow motion. First, watch the contact between Drinan and Jim Mahoney. Drinan's car digs in and begins a violent series of at least 15 barrel rolls into and then on top the third turn catch fence. In this replay, watch Gerke in the orange car. He's right behind all this and tries to go around, but catches Mahoney's left rear, sending him to the wall, and then the car bounces like a basketball several times before landing on its wheels. Notice also that Kenneth Nichols slides into the wreckage and turns over on his side before landing on his wheels. Afterwards, Drinan and Gerke were taken to St. John's Medical Center in Springfield. Gerke was treated and released later that evening.
Well, Drinan was originally admitted to the hospital in critical condition in the intensive care unit, but he's doing much better. He's even been up sitting in a chair. Now, we also talk with Danny's father, Doug Drinan.
We got there Sunday morning about 4:30, and then finally about 2:30 Monday afternoon, he woke up and enough to realize he wasn't where he wanted to be, and he asked me what time it was, and I told him it was 2:30, and I could see him searching. So I told him it was 2:30 Monday afternoon, and he was searching again and kind of shrugged his shoulders a little bit. And he said, "How did this happen?" And I said, "How does Springfield, Illinois on the mile sound?" And he said, "Oh." So I knew then he was on his way back. It's quite emotional that some of the people that have called, I mean, you know, the Andrettis, and not to single anybody out, everybody is appreciated, but the nurses at the hospital, they just couldn't get over it. They said they've never had anybody in that hospital that had that many calls. And it was just fantastic. The hospital itself is, everybody said Methodist is great, but if Methodist is that much better than St. John's, then by God, they got one hell of a hospital. Well, what I would really like to stress on is the point of the rumors. I mean, when you're 1,800 miles away and you know there's been an accident, and people are calling you before the doctor gives you a rundown on his situation and offering their condolences, why, it's quite striking. And for those that who did start the rumors, think the next time, because it might be one of yours, God forbid.
Now, Doug Drinan was referring to original reports that had indicated that Danny had been killed in that crash. Obviously, those were incorrect. It does say something, however, for accurate information from sanctioning bodies and from track promoters. Now, also on the card at Springfield, the USAC Silver Crown Championship Dirt Cars. The Tony Bettenhausen 100 was led and won by Jimmy Sills. He led all the way. Steve Butler was second, followed by Jeff Swindell, George Snyder, and Jack Hewitt. Now, the World of Outlaws raced in Lincoln, Nebraska on Monday night. Steve Kinzer beat Sammy Swindell, Jeff Swindell, Jack Howdenchild, and Dave Blaney. Now, last night, they were in Santa Maria, California, with Sammy Swindell beating Steve Kent, Randy Tyner, Steve Kinzer, and Johnny Herrera, and the Outlaws are also there again tonight. We are live at Bristol International Raceway, where in just a few minutes, the Bud 500 will be starting. We'll be back with more Speed Week in a moment.
We're here for your daughter who just got into college, and for you who just got the bill. Here for your mother who should never have to give up her home. And we're here because you found your next home. No matter what you face today, Fleet Bank will face it with you. With products that take the sting out of obligations. Products that fill needs faster and respond to your right to dream. Fleet Bank. We're here to make a difference.
For the first time, the #1 movie of 1991, Terminator 2, Judgment Day. And only one channel has it.
Did you see it on Showtime?
Hasta la vista, baby.
Car history as drivers head into the world's fastest half-mile track. They'll be fender-bended under the lights at the Bud 500, Saturday night at 7:30 Eastern, live on ESPN.
Coming up on SportsCenter, David Cohn tries to keep the Skydome from falling on the fading Jays. The Oilers and Raiders exchange preseason pleasantries. And at the U.S. Open tune-up, Stefan Edberg strikes a sour note. SportsCenter, 7 Eastern.
Speedweek's travel arranged through Continental. Continental's World is on sale this fall. Save up to 30% on tickets purchased by August 31st. Continental, one airline can make a difference. The NASCAR record book will show you that the closest finish in Winston Cup history occurred here in the spring of 1990. That's when Davey Allison beat Mark Martin by a mere 6 inches.
The white flag is out. One more lap to go. Let's see what happens on the last lap. Again, it is Davey Allison.
Oh, Sterling
Marlin spins off of corner number 2. Sterling Marlin spins down the backstretch. Here comes Mark Martin trying to make a move off of corner number 4. It's a drag race.
I don't know.
A photo finish. I think Davey Allison won, but I wouldn't say for sure. And we are live at Bristol International Raceway. Davey Allison with the closest finish in NASCAR Winston Cup history here in 1990. He is here again tonight. This time he's trying to retake the Winston Cup points lead. Let's go down to the pit area once again to Dr. Jerry Punch.
Thank you very much, Bob. In fact, Davey would love to take the Winston Cup points lead tonight because it's certainly been a struggle the past few weeks. Now, we are 1 day shy of 6 weeks since your injuries back in Pocono, Davey. Now, physically, how are you?
Well, I'm in pretty good shape, Jerry. We've been working out down there at Health South Medical Center just nonstop every day for about 6 hours to 7 hours, and all the gang down there has done a great job steering me in the right directions, getting my body strong. We've been working on cardiovascular stuff. I feel like my stamina level right now is even better than it was before I got hurt. The only thing that's a question is the pins in my hand and that go into my wrist, and they're a little bit tender at times, but from the practice and everything, I haven't had any problems. I feel like I can go the full 500 laps tonight. We'll see what happens.
Now, you had 2 minor procedures last week. You had 1 pin removed from...
Had a pin removed from here that they took out. This one over here was backing out and was up against the skin from the inside. They went in and pushed it back in a little and clipped it off. And I tried to talk them into going ahead and take it out. I don't need all them things anymore, I don't think, but they know better. The doctors know best, like you, and I'll do what they say.
Now, we got a deal tonight. If one of them tries to vibrate out, I'm going to get a pair of pliers and we'll just clip it off, and we'll just maybe during a caution play.
We won't clip it off. We'll pull it out and get it out of the way.
We'll pull it out now. Now, emotionally, I know Mom's watching back home. How's the family?
Everybody is doing great. You know, it's been a tough year in some ways, but it's been a great year in others, and you got to just keep your chin up and keep digging. Don't let the bad things get you down, you know, but I'll have to say the last couple of weeks have been the toughest, and my mom's done a remarkable job. I'd like to say hi, Mom. I love you, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Davey Allison trying to make a statement tonight. He would like to run all these races and possibly get that Winston Cup championship. Bob?
All right, thank you, Jerry. Davey starts 7th in tonight's race. We wish him the best of luck and all the competitors in tonight's race. Now, let's catch up on some other news. The first domino has fallen in the Formula One shuffle. Gerhard Berger will leave McLaren and drive for Ferrari next year. He's going to replace Ivan Capelli. And yes, that does open up a seat at McLaren. It also leads to speculation as to who might take that seat. Could it be an IndyCar driver like Michael Andretti or Al Unser Jr.? Well, Derek Daly says there's no definite word right now, but I would urge you to tune in to our coverage of the IndyCar race in Vancouver at 4:30 Eastern Time tomorrow afternoon for all the latest in news from IndyCars. Well, the IndyCars and the National Hot Rod Association both in action last weekend in the northern part of the U.S. At the Texaco Haviland 200 IndyCar race at Road America, Paul Tracy, shortly after winning his first pole and Team Penske's 100th, crashed hard. He was uninjured, but was forced to start the backup car. He led the first 4 laps of the race, but then teammate and outside front row starter Emerson Fittipaldi took command. In an effort to keep pace, Tracy spun off course in turn 2, but kept the engine running and rejoined the event in 11th position. A few laps later, as he tried to pass fellow Canadian Scott Goodyear, Paul locked up the brakes and spun again. He eventually wound up in 17th position. Speaking of Goodyear, he had perhaps the most serious-looking crash of the race. He was running 5th when he made contact with the guardrail in the carousel. The full-course yellow punched the field, but Emma was able to hold off late-race charges by Al Unser Jr. and Bobby Rahal. Fittipaldi's second straight victory kept his championship hopes alive, although he has a big deficit to make up with just 4 races remaining. The NHRA was in Brainerd, Minnesota last weekend for the Champion Auto Stores Nationals. And in the Pro Stock Finals, it was Bob Glidden in the near lane against Scott Jeffreyon. Glidden had a quicker reaction time and scored his 81st career Pro Stock victory, more than any other driver, but his first win since the Southern Nationals over a year ago. In Funny Car, it was fast qualifier Cruz Pedregon against Mark Oswald in the near lane. Oswald had the quicker reaction time, but he smoked the tires, giving Pedregon his second Funny Car win of the year. In Top Fuel, 4-time event winner Joe Amato was pitted against Eddie Hill. Hill in the far lane had a blower explosion as soon as he hit the throttle, allowing Amato to cruise to victory and take over the Top Fuel points lead, heading into the U.S. Nationals in Indianapolis Labor Day weekend. And by the way, next week, we will be at Indianapolis Raceway Park for Speed Week on the eve of the NHRA U.S. Nationals. Well, when we heard that Hurricane Andrew tore through Miami, we were concerned about a couple of things: Emerson Fittipaldi's home and Darrell Gwynn, the drag racer's shops. We're very glad to report that both escaped with relatively minor damage. Now, here is when and where you can see auto racing coming up this weekend on the Air Force Reserve Airtimes.
It's tough to concentrate on school when you're worried about paying for it. If the cost of college tuition is on your mind, do what you've always wanted to do and cash in on the Reserve GI Bill in the Air Force Reserve.
Wants to dancing and I'm the mayor.
Yo, fellas, how about a game of hoops? Hey, what? With you? No, with your mama. Mom?
This guy was good, but he was all dribble.
Say what? Come on, man.
Man, he deserved one of these.
Franchise, want a cold bud? Solid.
Hey, Mark, what's it like?
What?
Driving one of those souped-up family cars.
I don't think you can handle it, Al. Sometimes we bump into each other.
Yeah, but it's always in slow motion.
Are you going to take that from a guy who can't do anything for more than 5 seconds at a time?
Turn and face your accuser, Joe.
I don't have to turn, man. I'm a drag racer.
John, how you doing? You know AutoZone customers are pretty special.
I mean, they take great pains in doing a job just right. So they know exactly what they want. That's why we carry so many parts. And also why we price them so low every day of the week. Because you gotta admire a guy who'll tackle a job like putting in a starter, a water pump, a rack and pinion. And you gotta give a guy like that exactly what he wants. The right parts and the right price.
Sunday, the streets of Vancouver turn into a battlefield. Al Unser Jr. and Michael Andretti continue their quest to catch points leader Bobby Rahal at the Vancouver Indy. Sunday afternoon, live on ESPN.
Voting continues in the McDonald's NASCAR Winston Cup All-Star Team. Bill Elliott on top right now over Davey, Allison, and Dale Earnhardt. To cast your vote, dial 1-900-884-1993. Some 60,000 fans are expected here tonight for this Bud 500 NASCAR Winston Cup race, and they are beginning to file in. It should be great. We'll have the action for you at 7:30. Richard Petty's farewell tour continues, the fan appreciation tour. He'll start 30th in tonight's race. Why do you see him hardly ever without the sunglasses and hat? Well, here's Dr. Jerry Punch.
This Richard Petty memory is brought to you by new STP engine treatment. Help stop engine wear before you start. The legend Richard Petty was made on the racetrack, but his aura can be seen in his sunglasses and patented cowboy hat. But where did they come from?
My eyes are sensitive to light anyway, so I was wearing some kind of sunglasses. So I got to wearing these, and the wind, would keep the dust and stuff out from behind them. I mean, they was open, you wouldn't sweat and all that stuff. So it just got to be a more and more of a habit deal. And now the only time I take them off, I guess when I go to bed or take a bath or something like that. It's just got to be part of it. And the hat, I think, came about a little bit later on. I think it's not been going but maybe 10 years or something like that. One reason it works good for me at the racetracks and stuff is that when the Pontiac people are talking to me and I've got on an STP hat, they don't get mad at me, or vice versa, Goodyear hat or whatever. You always got the wrong hat on with people you talk to. You wear this, you're not out of school either way, so it made it a little bit easier. And then I got in the habit of wearing it and don't have to comb my hair, so that helps too.
You start it every morning. Start after start after start. When most of your oil is still down in a pad, you start metal-to-metal contact. You start engine wear. Now help stop it with the latest breakthrough from STP. New engine treatment. It bonds right to engine parts. Independent tests proved it. Just add a quart at your next oil change and help stop engine wear before you start with new STP engine treatment.
See the King as you've never seen him before in Richard Petty, the Legend. This official 2-volume.
Coming up immediately after Sports Center, it's the Bud 500 from Bristol, Tennessee. That's just a couple of minutes away. We're back in a flash.
Did you know that some insurance companies specify imitation parts for GM cars and trucks? It's true, and many don't measure up to GM standards. So listen to a guy who's been through a fender or two and insist on genuine GM parts.